Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this is a show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between. And at the end of the video, we do talk about the viewer's pick of the week, so for a chance to be featured on the episode, let me know your pick of the week. So let's jump in. I had a pretty average size haul number-wise for books. I had about 12 books, which I always feel is a decent number for the reading pile. So let's jump into number 12, and that is Jane Foster in The Mighty Thor, issue 4. Honestly, I love Jane. I think Jane's great in this book. I really like her monologue. I enjoyed that side of things, but I feel like everything else kind of feels too much like different stories. They don't feel as cohesive because the other Valkyries not really working together with Jane. They just kind of feels like separate stories, and I think the artwork is a little too simplistic for the book. Even though I think Jane has some good monologue here and some good emotional moments, I think it treads a lot of the same water. So overall, giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 12. Moving on to number 11, which is Iron Cat, issue 4. And honestly, I loved a lot of my books this week. I think this is one of the best weeks for how consistent everything was, and just a lot of great books that came out this week that I enjoyed. So this is actually a 3-star book, and this is Iron Cat, a book I really enjoy. The reason it's just a little lower is because I feel like it's mostly an action issue. The big cliffhanger and the big twist happens at the end, so there's not much meat until we get to the end of the issue when you find out the girlfriend might not be alive or ever was alive, and that was interesting. But it's cool just seeing these characters work together. It's a good action issue. I love seeing Black Cat have the spotlight in a new form with more of an Iron Man twist. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 11. Moving on to number 10, which is The Deadliest Bouquet, issue 2. It kind of has the issue 2 slump. Issue 1, you're introducing all the characters, you're introducing the world, you're sucked in from that. And now this is more point A to point B. Who are these characters? We learn a little bit more about them. We learn a little bit more about the mom. But there's not a lot of big moments here to really bring this to the top of the list. The artwork is, cartoony. I think it works for this book, but it didn't blow my mind compared to maybe some of the other books that came out this week. So giving that 3 stars, and then is number 10. Moving on to number 9. I know this has been a conflicting book for a lot of people, and that is Dark Crisis, Young Justice, issue 4. Love the cover. And in this book, as a hardcore Young Justice fan, I'm just happy to be getting Young Justice stories that really tie into some older storylines. But, I feel like it almost doesn't feel necessary. It doesn't feel connected to anything. So it's just like, even though it's connected to this bigger Dark Crisis, it's not really connected to the main story. It's very much its own story, and it's not really progressing the characters. It's just more of, okay, this is what the characters have been through. Let's talk about it. And some things that they've kind of already talked about in previous volumes of the book. But I like the overall story of these emotions that maybe they buried deep, that literally subconsciously they didn't even know happened, is coming to the forefront. And we get to see that between Cassie's relationship with Sissy and the boys' relationship with each other as well, especially death. Death is a big moment in here because that's a big theme of Dark Crisis in general. The artwork is okay. I feel like it's a little stilted, but if you look at it quickly, I think it's an interesting style. I just think the movements could be a little bit more kinetic. So overall, giving that 3 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Radiant Black, issue 18, a book that I really liked just how creative it was. We get to see the origins of Radiant Yellow. At this point, this is the last Radiant color that we need to see the origins of. I'm sure in the future we'll see more Radiant colors come to be, but I like learning about his story. I like understanding why he has this relationship with Radiant Pink and his relationship with his daughter and his wife, and I enjoyed the different timelines we're literally seeing at the same time, but at the same time I also didn't enjoy that. I feel like it was a little hard to read because of that, because you're getting literally 4 storylines across the book, and the artwork was a little muddy for me. It was harder to get into all the timelines. Maybe if they changed the colors for all 4, it would have been a little stronger visually, but overall I enjoyed it. I like learning more about him. It ties into the current events of the book, and Radiant Black's just a great series. So overall, giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 8. Moving on to number 7, which is Fantastic Four, issue 47. And this is a kind of a filler issue or filler arc between one creative team to the next. And what you need to do with filler arcs is just have a fun character moment, a fun character story, and that's exactly what's done here. It's really an Invisible Woman story as the Baxter building is being attacked, and how mostly Sue deals with it. You do see some other characters as well. I really love just putting a spotlight on, a character that tends to be invisible, pun intended. I feel like she's such a strong character, but people don't always remember that, and it's always nice to be reminded just how awesome Sue is, and to put a spotlight specifically on her. I didn't love that it was in Reed's point of view, or at least it seems like it's in Reed's point of view. I'm like, this is Sue's story. Do we really need to have him as the voice to tell us why Sue's awesome? But I enjoyed seeing the other characters. I like seeing Human Torch. I like seeing The Thing, and I think it all came together well. And I think even if it was in Reed's point of view, I still enjoyed what Reed had to say about Sue. So, and also the art is pretty strong for an action-heavy, blowing up buildings type issue. So giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6. And that is one of the bigger books that came out this week, and that is Vanish issue 1. And, I love this creative team. Obviously they did Venom, but I also loved Donny Cates on Crossover. I loved Ryan Stegman on his Spider-Man stuff. So they've all done some really wonderful things. And something I really enjoyed about this book. So Vanish is, as Donny Cates tends to do, a love letter to comics, but a love letter to superheroes, where we get to see, and also a love letter to magic, because it kind of definitely makes these worlds collide, where it's this kind of magical post-apocalyptic world that this character comes from, and you see a more normal world that he's in now, and what has changed between this kind of big moment of what he did when he was a child and he was a hero, and to now where he is struggling and is painted as a villain, and literally says he's kind of the villain by the end. So the reason this didn't make my top 5 is I think it really threw a lot of mythology at you at once, and I think for the most part it was cohesive, but as someone who doesn't love magic, it wasn't completely for me, those sides, but the grounding elements, the elements that made him human and just made him this kind of street hero, was what I was attracted to, which will also make me want to read issue 2. And also just the visuals of Ryan Stegman felt really cinematic, and obviously they work really well together as a team, and that was really cohesive throughout the book. So it still really grabbed me. I just thought I would be grabbed as in a top 5 comic, and I don't think it quite made it there. And that's why it's number 6. So that is a 3.5 star book for me, and that is number 6, like I mentioned. Moving on to number 5, which is Rogues Gallery issue 3, a book I'm really enjoying, and I'm actually surprised the next issue is the last. I'm like, oh man, I'm just starting getting into this. I want to see more. But it's about the celebrity who's in this superhero story, this TV show, and she quits for reasons, and she definitely should, but she still loves this hero, and the audience doesn't quite understand that, and these teens want to hurt her, and then you realize, oh, there's actually one teen who wants to kill her, and in the exact way that issue 1 unfolded in the comic. And it's just this very interesting commentary about toxic fan bases, but also like superhero movies, and how the actress really loves this world, and I think that's interesting as well. Issue 1 was to introduce you to the teens. Issue 2 was to introduce you to the actress, and now we get to actually see them play together. And I thought it was a pretty solid issue to see that. There's some good twists and turns, some deaths in this one as well. So, solid issue. Giving that 4 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, and that is Nightwing, issue, what are we up to? Issue 96. Love this cover. Love this, like, Brady Bunch cover here to see the Bat Family. And overall, I thought this was a good finale of the blockbuster story where, Nightwing's identity is revealed, and I would say that part was a little slower, but then, there's some wonderful action from Bruno, and it's just so superb, the sequences that are played out here. And then you get to Barbara and Nightwing, where Nightwing's like, oh, well, my identity is revealed to this guy who's really powerful. We can't be together, the trope that's always there. And then Barbara's like, why not? A, I'm a superhero, so you don't have to worry about me. But B, like, I'll never leave you. If I have to die for that, that's fine. I think we deserve happiness. And it's just such a different angle for a Bat story. Because, every Batman story, at least for Bruce, always ends with, I can't be happy. So bye, Catwoman. Or bye, Talia. Or bye, random girl. But here it's like, no, we're allowed to be happy. And we've seen that from Batman, to talk about the Bat families. Like, I might not be able to be happy, but you guys can. So I really love that moment. I think I married the bigger story with Blockbuster. And in the end, it didn't matter because Blockbuster dies. So, but it was a solid story. And I think the heart was here. And that's something I've kind of missed from Nightwing. I feel like because we've been a little bit more trying to progress the plot of the bigger players, we haven't seen as many character moments like this, so it's nice to see that Barbara and Dick moment. So giving that 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, a book that really surprised me, and that's X-Terminators, issue 1. And if you're just looking for bombastic, fun comics, this is it. If you're looking for an X-Men book that's not really connected to Krakoa, this is it. I feel like X-Men's been so connected to that world. It's such a nice breath of fresh air when you just get something that really doesn't even have to be about being a mutant. It's just these fun characters like Dazzler, Jubilee, and Boom Boom, characters that not a lot of people, if you're not a hardcore X-Men fan, you probably don't know all of them. And then they're just having a girls' night out. Everything goes to shit, and they're cursing, there's violence, and then Laura Kidney shows up, Wolverine, X-23, and you're like, okay, this is just fun. This is just a fun comic, and I love that, and I think the dialogue work was really well done. I like their relationship. They set that up really well. So yeah, just got me hooked from issue 1. Excited to see where this one's gonna go. So that's 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Batman Superman World's Finest, issue 7. This is a new arc, and still don't know where to place this book because it's still a different timeline than what we're used to in the regular DC universe, but the stories that we're getting are perfect. They're so good. Where, this is a story we've seen before. We've seen the character from Krypton type place. Literally, Supergirl has done this. And they crash land on Earth. What is Superman to do? And, but the way it's written is so expertly written by Mark Waid and obviously drawn by Dan Mora, where, yes, we are seeing very similar stories we've seen before, but just the way they tackle the character moments shine here. We go to Kandor. We go to see, well, why can't Batman take care of this kid? Why does it have to be Superman? And then in the end, we say, hey, this kid's gone through a lot of trauma. Let's bring him to the Teen Titans. So it's just very old school, but still has this nice modern twist. And that's really been the success of World's Finest and just expert writing of these characters. Everyone feels in character. And it's just a fun book that I don't mind feels out of continuity. Maybe 10 issues from now, I'm going to want to know where this all connects. But as of right now, it's cool that it's kind of its own thing. I think that's why it's a success. So giving that 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, and this is Crashing issue 1 by IDW. And again, kind of expert writing. It's a story I won't say I haven't seen before. It's like, okay, we have a hospital setting. They're superhero or people with powers, and what is a hospital to do with that? But what really got me and why this is number 1 is the expert writing of being able to introduce this character, this doctor character, make us fall in love with her, make us want to know more about her by weaving her past, weaving this kind of mystery of how she's connected to these powered people. And then, you get to meet her husband, who might not be on the same page with her. He doesn't like superpowered people. She's kind of in this moment of that she has to do this underground surgery because she's being blackmailed. But there's this mystery of like, okay, what did happen in the past? Who is she? Does she have powers? Is there a bigger picture here? But then there's also this really human element of her being a drug addict. And we see that from the beginning of that's how she ended up in the hospital. And, she's addicted to caffeine because that's like her new addiction. And then there's these temptations of, do I take the pills? I'm about to crash. I need the adrenaline. And the whole issue leads to her, she's been sober for a long time, leads to her relapsing. And it's just such a beautiful human story in this super-powered world that just makes this issue so well balanced for, again, maybe a plot that I think on paper I've been like, oh, I might have seen this before, I don't know, but then just that human element really makes the plot come to life, or the world come to life, makes these characters come to life, but especially the main character, where you're like, okay, she's kind of this, she's I won't say morally gray, because she's definitely far from a morally gray character, but she feels human. And the artwork fits really well for this, kind of has this bright palette, and the opener was really good. It just introduces the world so well. Expert writing, in my opinion. So I gave that 5 stars. That is my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Let me know in the comments below what were your favorite books. And last week's pick of the week was Batman vs. Robin. And here are some comments about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and I will see you guys in the next one.